put your hands together to welcome Hive Saro on stage.
Thank you very much, MC Gopi, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, Hivers. I'm very thrilled to walk you through on how you can handle just a minute talks. Now, whatever I'm going to share with you in the next 20 minutes is going to help you to handle not just jam talks, but also any impromptu speaking situation, which we quite often run into in our workplace and in our personal lives. So it's very important that we master how to handle jam talks, because whenever we are at work, we have to make our presence felt in meetings. We have to be vocal in meetings. And not only that, we'll have to be actively participating in discussions, more importantly in brainstorming activities where they are trying to come up with a new innovative idea by combining the thoughts of everyone. If you are not a professional impromptu speaker, then you will end up sitting there just watching what's happening in the meeting. So that's why it's important for you to master jam talks. Not only that, I look at interviews as a sequence of impromptu speaking opportunities, because they keep throwing one question after the other to us, and we have to answer them spontaneously with very little time for us to think. And last but not the least, it helps us to start and sustain conversation with anybody. To give you an example, 20 years ago, if somebody at work asked me, Saro, how was your weekend? My immediate response would be, I'll say good, I'll smile, and I'll immediately vanish from the place, because I was afraid that they'll be asking many more questions to me in English. I was not good at handling those impromptu situations. And that's why all of you should develop the art of mastering just a minute talks, also the impromptu speaking situations. So in my speech today, I'm going to be helping you to learn some techniques that you can immediately apply in your jam talks as well as any spontaneous speeches. First things first, let's try to understand the intent behind the topic. The moment you get a topic, I still remember way back in 1997, I was in college and I walked to a forum called Literary and Debate Society. And from the audience, they called me to the stage. They pulled like 3 or 4 people to the stage and gave us a topic for group discussion. And the topic was brain drain. And during those days, I was not reading newspaper. I didn't have any clue about the topic. And the moment I heard the topic brain drain, I immediately said, all of you should eat healthy food. You should be eating a lot of vegetables and fruits. Only then your memory capacity will improve. When I started talking, everybody started laughing, because the topic really meant people moving away from India to US and UK and foreign countries. That's what brain drain meant. But I took the literal meaning of brain drain and started talking about it, which did not make sense. And that's why it's important, whenever we get a topic, we have to first understand the intent behind the topic before we start sharing the content. So what are certain categories under which you can bucket the topics that you are getting? The most common one is a straightforward topic. Hey, what's your favorite book? Or Raji, what is the importance of sleep? So these are straightforward topics which are very easy to connect, and we can talk about these topics without much thinking at all, right? Because it's there at the top of our mind. Straightforward topics. The second category is a little abstract, conceptual topic. For example, somebody gives you a topic, silence is beautiful, or life is full of ups and downs. These are philosophical in nature, and these are very abstract in nature. So you can decide how you want to attack this particular type of topic. So you can relate to a personal story, you can relate to an incident that happened recently, or you can talk about something that you read in the newspaper or read in a book. So abstract conceptual topic needs a little more color to be added to it for the audience to get a good understanding of what you are trying to say. The third category, this is the most difficult one. It's called idioms and metaphors. So idiom, for example, the one that I got, brain drain. The moment you hear the topic, we should not go with the literal meaning for it. So another example here is every cloud has a silver lining. Okay? So basically there is something positive in everything, right? So that's the actual meaning for this particular idiom. And metaphor, he is a shining star. So obviously humans cannot be stars, but they are trying to compare this person with a shining star because they are coming up with so much energy. They are standing out from the crowd. So that's the real intent. So this category requires a little bit of proficiency because you need to be reading a lot of books. You need to be reading a lot of articles for you to develop this understanding of what is an idiom, what does the idiom really mean, for you to understand the intent. The next category is polarizing category, where the topic gives you an opportunity to speak for as well as against. AI today is quite popular. If you call anybody and ask them about AI, I'm sure they have lots of content to share with the audience. They can talk about the pros and they can talk about the cons. Such topics will fall under the polarizing category. Right? And similarly, social media. Everybody spends a lot of time in social media, so they have some understanding of how social media is helpful and why social media is not helpful. So that falls under the polarizing category. And the last one is situational. Okay? For example, if you are a CEO for a day, if you are the prime minister for this nation for a day, what would you do? If you find a bag of cash on the street, how will you spend it? So there'll be situational or scenario type of topic. And obviously, there are several other categories, but these are the most common ones. I still remember one of the topics that I got in an impromptu speaking segment in Toastmasters. It was craziness is the welcome mat at the doors of creativity. Craziness is the welcome mat at the doors of creativity. So that was a very complex topic, and all that I understood was craziness and creativity. So I immediately related it to a master of ceremony, somebody like a Gopi who was trying a few crazy things in that meeting. And I immediately related it to the master of ceremony and how that master of ceremony was so creative in doing the work that he was assigned to do on that day. So I connected it back to the situation and attacked it. Otherwise, I went blank with that topic, right? It was very difficult. So always try to understand the intent behind the topic and spend the first 5 seconds to do this. Because just a minute means you have like a minute or up to 2 minutes max to give you to give your perspectives. So spend the first 5 seconds or at most 10 seconds to understand the intent of the topic. That's what you need to start first. And how do you get that 5-10 seconds? Take a comfortable pause. It's not a must for you to immediately jump into the topic and then start answering. Take a 5 seconds or at most 10 seconds comfortable pause. Look into the camera, smile, and then get that 10 seconds. So you don't have to immediately jump into the topic, right? So these are certain categories: straightforward, abstract, conceptual, idioms, metaphors, polarizing topic, situational or scenario type of topics. Now that we know the different categories, how do we handle this? So that's the whole crux of today's workshop, right? How do we handle this? I'm going to share with you 4 techniques that you can use in handling impromptu speaking situations. Not just jam talks, any impromptu speaking situations. So first, this is my favorite one. I call this as 5 wives and 1 husband technique. Some of you who have dealt with me in the last few years, you would know that anytime I get an opportunity to speak, I'm sure I will introduce this technique to everybody, because this helps you in organizing your thoughts in a very structured way, which will also make it easy for the audience to remember it also. So try to answer the what, when, where, who, why, and then obviously the how. And this technique will be very useful whenever you are talking about some current events or news or any straightforward topic. For example, if you are planning a travel. Okay? So, for example, I visited North India during December. Okay, so the what is I visited North India, and the when is during December 2025. Now, where did I go in North India? I went to a wonderful place called Jaisalmer in Rajasthan. Now, some of you may be wondering, there are so many places to see in India. Why did you choose to go to Jaisalmer in Rajasthan? I chose Jaisalmer because I saw some beautiful historical sites shown in a Tamil movie song. And I was asking a neighbor, like, which place this is. And the person said, this is Jaisalmer. The moment I heard that, I said, this is the place where I have to go for my next vacation. And I immediately booked my flight tickets to go there. So then I can talk about what are the specific places that I went in Jaisalmer, who I went with, like my wife and two daughters, and how I ended up planning the trip, how I ended up doing the commute, how I ended up planning the stay, all of that, right? So this technique will be very easy for you to quickly organize your thoughts and go through like a checklist, what, when, where, why, who, how, and then start answering each of these questions one by one. You would have easily covered the 2 minutes. Right? So this is a technique that's very easy for all of us, right? Now let's start doing some activities. Let me pick, who should I pick? Melita. So Melita, this activity, you are going to apply this technique for handling the topic, my best friend. So let me ask you, who's your best friend?
Okay, my best friend is Divya.
Divya. So why Divya is your best friend?
So Divya has a lot of qualities which makes her very special to me. Divya is kind, patient, as well as she listens to me, as well as she does not acknowledge whatever I say, but also gives her opinion when I do the wrong thing, when I choose the wrong thing.
So when was the first time that you met Divya, or when was the time your friendship developed?
Okay. I met Divya when like during my work tenure, post Corona, when everybody started coming to office. I think it's 2 years since Divya has been my friend. Yeah.
Okay. So I was about to ask what are the qualities that make her a good friend, but you already described that. How do you stay in touch with Divya today?
Okay. So I meet Divya daily in office, but whatever gossips we're not able to talk in office, we discuss it over the phone. So that's how our bond is very special, and we continue to encourage each other, be it work as well as personal. So yeah. So did I answer the how? Yeah. How would
Super.
I?
Yeah, I think this is good enough, right? So give Melita a round of applause. I'm sure if I ask her a few more questions on was there an interesting moment or incident, what was the time where which is more memorable to for Melita, the time that she spent with Divya and so on, and I'm sure she'll be able to answer all of these questions, right? So imagine that somebody is asking all these questions one after the other to you, and then start answering them. Here, I was trying to make it easy for Melita by asking those questions. But when you get a topic, you should imagine that somebody is asking you these questions, right? So let's find somebody else for this. Vishal, the most significant achievement in your life, and use this technique, 5 wives and 1 husband.
So, I have to, okay. Uh, Good afternoon, all.
Okay, I'll make it easy, right?
Okay,
What is the most significant achievement in your life?
sir, I have completed my master's in from my triple IT. So that is one of the most.
Super. When did you complete your master's?
I completed in 2013. 13.
Why did you decide to do your master's?
Because I'm passionate. After after completing my BE, joined in a private organization. After working for 3 years, I felt that after 3 years of experience, my I'm not in a correct place actually. I'm more creative, so I thought like doing masters in design that will help boost my career actually. That's why I did my
Super.
masters. Yeah.
Who would you recommend, or who recommended you to do masters, or who would you recommend doing masters to in triple IT?
Actually, I met one of my friend when because after 3 years of experience, I'm not very confident whether I have to do masters. So I went to one institute to prepare GATE examination. There I met one person called Sumit Jain. So he gave a lot of confidence, actually, a lot of input and confidence. So his inputs helped me to left my job and do masters. So
Super. I'm sure if I ask few more questions, Vishal
yes,
would have the answer.
yes,
So that's how we use this technique, right? What, when, where, why, who, and then how. Keep asking these questions for any topic. If you are doing a workshop, try to answer all of these questions, and you should have given a fulfilling experience for the participants, right? So 5 wives and 1 husband technique. Now let's move on to the next technique. This is called prep technique. Point, reason, example, and then repeat the point. For example, work from home. Why do I hate work from home? Or like if somebody talks about work from home, I immediately say, I hate working from home. The reason why I hate working from home is you are sitting in the corner of the one of the rooms in the house and nobody is there to care for you, and you are sitting there in isolation for the whole day, and it is not giving you opportunities to socialize. It's not giving you opportunities to move around. For example, a week ago, I realized that I was sitting there on my own for like 2 hours without even taking any break, and I couldn't even walk. So that's when I realized that like working from home all the times is not a great idea. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have an opportunity to go to office and work, please do go to office and work. Don't just work from home on all the days, right? So that's a demo of prep technique. And this prep technique can be used whenever you are trying to share your opinions. In this case, I was trying to share my opinion on work from home, right? Or whenever there is abstract concepts, conceptual, remember the silence is golden, or topics that are very conceptual in nature, right? Health, for example, that's an abstract or conceptual topic, and then you can use prep technique for health. Or idioms. So catching a falling knife is not good. Okay, so if you understand this idiom, then you will be able to use this point, reason, give a personal example, then summarize, right? End with the same point. So prep technique is another technique that I want to introduce to you. And this is, by the way, useful in any situation, right? Not just jam topics. So let's bring somebody to do this. I'll start with Ilaminil. I'll normally give preference to people who turn on videos and who do not have roles. Ilaminil. So AI is going to take away our jobs. Can you see if you can use this point, reason, example, point format?
Yeah,
What?
I'll give it a try.
Sure.
I do not think AI is going to take away all our jobs. Definitely not. Because you look at what AI is able to do. It is getting trained on what has already been done, and then it's putting it together in a new format. There is no example of an AI creating something absolutely new. One more thing, since I am in education and they have tried out AI in schools as a teacher, it did not work at all. Personally, I've seen many cases where I tried out AI, all the options were terrible, and then I sat and did the work myself. So, but I would like to contradict here those people who have just floated on work, right? They'll do the bare minimum, copy, paste, submit, get along, take the bare minimum in the appraisal. Those people, their jobs are definitely at risk, not for the people who are actually skilled. So that's what I think. Our jobs are not at risk.
Super. Great demonstration of the prep technique. Remember, the moment she made a point, she immediately used this keyword because of so and so, right? So she gave a reason and then said, in my workplace, that's an example, right? In my workplace, they started doing this and blah, 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 and then finally summarize with the point. So let's give opportunity to Balaguru. Balaguru, your take on it's not just enough to work hard, you need to also work smart. How do you use the prep technique for this? First,
Yes,
share your
yeah,
point. Yeah, thought.
it's not just enough to work hard, you need to work smart. So I would state my point as working smart is better to work hard because uh, there are some place which we need to like think before you implement. So instead of thinking, if you implement something with this, it's all your energy is pointless. I mean, spending your energy is pointless. For example, um, when the task is given to you at your workplace, instead of knowing the acceptance criteria or whatever the point is, instead of you are doing what you know, instead of thinking what actually it needed. So at that place, we need to think smart work. So how much work we need to do and how much work instead of putting the hard work. So I restate my point as yeah, smart work is significant rather than the hard work.
Oh, super, fantastic. Kudos, Bala. One recommendation would be to whenever you are giving an example, see if you can make that example relevant, like from your standpoint. For example, I was facing this situation. So the moment you say when you are assigned a work, if you do this, then it will sound like a gyan, okay, like an advice. So rather, for example, my boss came to me and assigned me this task, and I was asking him several questions on the acceptance criteria, quality milestone, and all that, because I don't want to just slog and then end up realizing that the work cannot be done within the time, right? So give a personalized example that will be more apt, but you use the technique really well. Now, the third technique is called past, present, and future. And you use this technique whenever you are going to talk about some evolution or a change in trend, or even your own personal journey or an organizational growth journey, right? For example, I do a lot of technical presentations on 5G, and I always say in 3G, people were able to browse internet from their mobile phones. But when they accessed YouTube from their mobile, the YouTube was continuously buffering. That's how 3G was. Fast forward to 4G. 4G enabled us to access video from our mobile phone. Now, many of you may be wondering why we are now getting 5G. Because we are already good with 4G. Why do we need 5G? That's the present, right? So 5G is not for mobile phones. 5G is for industrial adoption. So 5G is used for the robots to connect and communicate with each other, to control all these machinery in the industrial environment. That's where 5G is more appropriate. In the future, we'll have 6G, and 6G will enable holographic communication. Imagine a friend standing near to you, having a conversation with you right in front of your eyes. That's what 6G will uh, enable us with, right? Past, present, and future. So, and you can use this for, like I said, anytime there is an evolution, there is a change, there is a trend, you can use this technique. Let's do a demo, right? So who's going to do this? Let's see. Do we have enough people? Satyabama ma'am. Work-life balance. I think it's very apt for faculties. Work-life balance. What are your thoughts? How work-life was in the past, and how is it now, and how is it going to be in the future? So you can structure it like that.
So in the past, before my marriage, I worked hard. I handled so many classes, extra classes. So concentrated towards more on working. So because less time I was able to spend with the family, but it was enough. But at present I have two kids, so I have to balance the working role as a career woman, as a family woman. I am concentrating from 9 to 5. I'm concentrating more fully on work as a career woman, and after 5, I'm concentrating towards my kids' studies, health, everything. And in future, now I'm 45. So in future, I plan. I might. I have a plan about and as an entrepreneur. So I have to plan more. So that's why I joined in Speakers Hive. So I know in past as a teacher, I can share my teaching skills to students. Now I can take some leadership roles. In future, I have to give more public speaking and all. So now I am
Super.
concentrating towards my future, planning how to move all people other than students, other than family members. So this is how I'm balancing work-life experience.
Awesome. So you beautifully narrated the past and what you're doing present in terms of focusing on your kids, and future, what you want to achieve in the future in terms of becoming an entrepreneurship. Very good demo of how to use the past, present, future technique. Now, the last one is problem solution benefit. So obviously, several situations in life, there are so many problems, right? And we all are looking for solutions. So if the topic is related to, for example, things like AI, which has pros and cons, or persuasion, right? If somebody wants to sell a product or an idea to you, they have to use persuasion technique, right? Why should you buy this? Today, for example, you are doing all the laundry yourself. Buy this washing machine. When you buy this washing machine, these are the benefits. It will save your time. It will increase the longevity of the cloths, and it will also save water, right? So anytime somebody is trying to sell a concept or an idea, they use they deliver persuasive speeches. Whenever you are delivering persuasive speeches, you can use the problem solution benefit approach. And in workplace, there are instances where you will be describing a problem, how you solve the problem, and because of you solving the problem, what are the benefits to the organization, right? For example, in your performance review document, it will all be problem solution benefits. When you are explaining your achievements, it will be all problem solution benefits. So that's how you should structure your thoughts. And an example is plastic, right? In the interest of time, I'll skip this activity, but plastic everywhere. So the problem is people don't know how to dispose plastic. You see plastic going into landfills, you see plastic going into waterways, and you see plastic almost everywhere. What is the solution? Responsible use of plastic, reduce, reuse, recycle. And if you do that, what are the benefits? The benefits are obviously for the next generation, they'll have good quality land, good quality water resources. And not only that, the air and the entire ecosystem will be very clean, right? So that's a demo of problem solution benefits technique. This is used quite a bit at workplace. Whenever you are making a presentation to an executive, structure your thoughts like this. This will be very handy for you to explain what you did, what are the benefits that you were able to achieve by doing whatever you did, right? So that's a powerful technique. So to summarize, we learned 4 different techniques: the past, present, future, then prep, point, reason, example, point, then problem solution benefits, and the 5 wives, 1 husband technique. So some best practices: pause before you start to speak in jam talks. Go with the first thought. You will be bombarded with random thoughts, but go with the first thought. And jam speech is also like a regular speech. It has to have a proper introduction, speech body, and a conclusion. So at the end, please summarize, right? The prep technique: point, reason, example, and then again repeat your point. So the last words are the lasting words, right? So conclusion is equally important. And to the extent possible, use your voice modulation, gestures, eye contact, and all of that to make the speech more impactful. Okay? So I wish you all the very best for your Jam Talk contest participation. And obviously, I'm available after this workshop too, so you can get in touch with me if you have any questions. Type your questions in the chat window. I'll share the responses in the WhatsApp group. Thank you. Over to the MC.
Thank you so much, Saro, for